Right, hey guys, something different. This got recommended a week ago? I can't remember who. Sorry, leave it in comments. I'll pin it. If you were the person that recommended I check these out. This is from a channel called Mugawara no Goofy, and this is the East Blue is Hilarious. Now, it's not. I'm gonna check these out in order of chronological story, if that makes sense. So I know this isn't the first One Piece is Hilarious video he's done, but this is the first part of One Piece, and that is how his playlist has been set out as well, in chronological order of One Piece's story. So that's how we're gonna check this out. Let's see if I like this. I'm going into this completely blind. This is the East Blue is Hilarious.
Lately I've been thinking about how this whole story has gotten completely out of hand. And how it's crazy how everything we're going through right now in the story, all of it, literally all of it, started when a bunch of lunatics decided to take off into the sea together.
Yeah.
So in the spirit of nostalgic beginnings, I thought we'd take a look at the very first adventure that Luffy and his four friends from the East Blue went on together.
Okay.
That is right, everybody. We are taking a look
We're
at the
checking
East
out
Blue
the
saga
East
of One Piece and
Blue.
proving once and for all that it is hilarious. So just to set the stage, I think it's important that we take a look at this adventure first through the eyes of Luffy's very first stand, and that would be Kobe, the guy who was on Alvida's ship. Now,
Oh my god, isn't Kobe's story just incredible though as well? Look at where he's at now.
Kobe's a cabin boy, and to be honest, the story of Kobe is kind of funny too. If I remember correctly, he literally just got on the wrong ship, and the ship that he got on just happened to be pirated by Alvida. And she from there sailed with him for, I think it was like a couple years. Like,
A while.
I think it was a couple years. He was just a cabin boy, basically a slave child on
Pretty
this ship
much.
with this very overweight woman. She treated him bad. She called him names. She made fun of him a whole bunch of times. Kobe's not living the best of lives
Nope,
right now.
nope.
Kobe's life is about to turn around, but not before it gets a whole lot weirder. You see, a bunch of pirates on Alvida's crew, they find this barrel that's just drifting in the ocean, and they rightfully assume, like, okay, this might have, like, treasure or supplies, food, something.
Yeah, you wouldn't assume it's a pirate with stretchy rubber abilities.
And we might as well bring it up and see what's inside. So imagine their surprise when they open the barrel and it's not food, provisions, or gold or anything like that. It is a crackhead that has been sleeping inside of the barrel, just drifting aimlessly on the sea. So Kobe explains that this is Alvida's ship, and if she sees that you're here, this stowaway, then we're both going to be in a lot of trouble. But this sleepy crackhead doesn't care about any of that. He looks Kobe dead in his eyes and he's like, shut up, dummy. I'm going to be king of the pirates. And then he just beats up everybody on Alvida's crew.
I mean, that's true, yeah, he does, yeah.
After all that fighting's done, Kobe and Luffy get into a smaller boat and they sail towards the closest island. And so when Kobe and Luffy finally make it to the closest marine island, it is revealed that there is a pirate hunter named Zoro who has been captured by the Marines and awaiting his execution. And upon hearing this, Luffy's like, that guy sounds like a lot of fun. I want to
Hell
find him
yeah,
and have him
let's
join
go.
my crew. And you know, Kobe's just like, what? Why would you do that? I mean, like, you know, this guy's captured by the Marines. The Marines are the good guys. He's clearly just a bad person. But before they go and meet Zoro, I think it's important for us to switch perspectives, all right? Let's switch the perspective to the main villain. There's no villains in this arc. Everybody's just such a sorry example of an antagonist. Let's just switch gears. Let's look
True.
at things through the eyes of the antagonist, Axe-Hand Morgan. You see, Axe-Hand Morgan is the Marine that's in charge of this entire island, all right? Now, there's some corruption going on. You know, the island isn't perfect. But, you know, at the very least, there's not a bunch of crackheads running around beating everybody up. So, you know, Axe-Hand Morgan's like, you know, it could be worse. It could be worse. Axe-Hand Morgan also has a son that he doesn't like at all. I mean, and to be fair, the son is just running around starting fights that he knows he's not going to finish. But
It's
this
true.
changes when he runs into Pirate Hunter Zoro. And Pirate Hunter Zoro does not care who your daddy is, all right? He'll cut anybody up. He's a lunatic. So walk with me for a second, all right? You are Axe-Hand Morgan. Your son that you don't like has started a fight with someone that could murder him if he wants to. Now, if we're going by the One Piece live action too, this same guy is dragging around a half a body wherever he goes. So
Yeah.
this guy that's dragging around half a body has also beaten up your son. You don't have all the information that you need to fully make a call on this situation in the side of justice, all right? You haven't been as involved as you should have been in this situation. But be that as it may, I would hazard to guess that the person that's dragging around half a body, if I were Axe-Hand Morgan, I would just lock him up and maybe we'll figure this out later. But why did he walk into a bar still carrying the half a body? What was the reason of that? People's families are in here, man. Like, even if he needed to watch the dead body so that he could make sure that he collected the bounty, just leave it outside. Like, if you can't leave it outside because you're scared of other bounty hunters taking your bounty, turn the dead body in. Turn the half of a dead body in to collect your reward, and then go get a drink. Don't just plop a
Alright, this guy's funny, I do like this.
dead body in the seat next to you and order a whiskey and Coke, Zoro. So that's what I'm saying. If you're Axe-Hand Morgan in that situation, what are you gonna do? Be honest. Like, even it doesn't matter that you don't like your son. This guy's dragging a half a body around your city. Lock him up. So you, of course, lock this guy up. And then after you you go over his files, you realize, oh, this guy is just too dangerous. We better just execute him and be done with it. So you show up with all your Marine buddies ready to execute this dangerous criminal, and suddenly a crackhead shows up out of nowhere. And you shoot the crackhead, and all the bullets bounce up off of him, and he starts laughing, and he's like, ha ha, that doesn't work on me. And he's also carrying 3 swords with him. You're like, "Aight, what the hell is going on here?" Next thing you know, the crackhead has freed this pirate hunter and given him all 3 swords, and your next immediate question is, where is the 3rd sword going? Oh, it's going in his mouth. He's just putting it in his mouth.
Yeah.
Well, that looks ridiculous. And before you can finish that thought, the pirate hunter starts going crazy. The pirate hunter and the crackhead beats up everybody in sight. Before you know it, you have been bested by a crackhead and a pirate that wanted to be a pirate hunter until he got kicked off the force for police brutality. Thoroughly confused by the situation, it isn't long until the corruption that you've wrought on this island comes to roost, and you are thrown in jail as well. Mind you, your crimes on the island, I mean, I can't think of everything X-Hand Morgan did, but I don't... Did he deserve for a crackhead to come into his town, beat up his son, and then him in front of all of his co-workers, and then he gets not only demoted, but I'm pretty sure imprisoned? Just seems a little extreme. But that's it from X-Hand Morgan's perspective. He doesn't know what happens. Just a crazy person showed up and beat up everybody in sight. It gets crazier, though, because the very next island that these lunatics go to is an island where a killer clown has taken the entire town hostage with a cannon filled with what he calls buggy balls. The thing about Buggy is what makes a good pirate to him is how funny you are. And so he fancies himself as the funniest pirate in all of the East Blue and all of the Grand Line. And Buggy's off to prove it. So you can imagine how frustrated he was when these lunatics, who are the funniest things that anyone has ever seen, invades his island and shows him up in every comedy regard that they can think of. But let me set the stage for you, right? Now, this guy's name is Buggy the Clown, all right? And he's hilarious. More videos on him are definitely going to be in the future. But Buggy's a little bit mad right now because there's this thief that I didn't mention in the island before. Her name is Nami. She steals from literally everybody. She's a sociopath. And she has stolen one of Buggy's maps, okay? He needs that map. But Nami pulls a switcheroo and shows up with this crackhead that she's tied up, and she's like, hey, Buggy, don't worry. This guy was my captain, but he's frustrating me right now. So I figured I'd go ahead and turn him over to you, and I want to join the Buggy Pirates. So Buggy loves that. Buggy's like, you know what? You got fire in you, all right? That's very flashy. I like that. Let's go ahead and throw a party and celebrate our newest member, Nami. So you and all of your clown people throw a party while this crackhead is sitting inside a cage tied up. And this is when Buggy stares at that crackhead that's inside the cage, and this is when he starts getting a little bit more ticked off, because this crackhead, he does not care about anything. He does not have a care in the world, despite how dire these situations are. So imagine this. Put yourself in Buggy's shoes, all right? You are supposed to be the funniest pirate in all of the East Blue and all of the Grand Line. This story will not know a funnier pirate than you. So you see him just sitting there, tied up in a cage, being effortlessly the goofiest thing that anybody's ever seen, and you're like, you know what? I'm sick of this. This guy's too funny. We got to get rid of him. So Buggy's like, all right, Nami, prove your loyalty to me. Go ahead and put some buggy balls in that cannon and let that crackhead have it. And for a second, it looks like Nami's gonna do it. You know, she is your newest loyal crew member after all, but right at the last second, Nami flips on you and she starts beating up your clown people. And this makes Buggy furious. He's like, aha, I knew it. I knew that crackhead was funnier than me. He's managed to sway my newest team member. And then out of nowhere, some green-haired guy shows up and then starts trying to get his captain out of there. But he does it in the most hilarious way. Rather than try to find a key to free his captain, rather trying to slice the bars with his sword. No, none of that at all. This lunatic grabs the cage that the crackhead is in and throws him over his shoulder. And they start trying to walk away. It's the funniest thing ever. The crackhead is even like, you know, Zoro, there's a better way to do this. I'm sure there is. And Zoro's the whole time is just like, shut up, all right? I'll do whatever I want. So it sends you over the edge. You're like, all right, I'm tired of this. Go ahead, put another buggy ball in that cannon and let all of these lunatics have it. And so you do just that. Your crewmates load a buggy ball into the cannon. The fuse is lit. But then they do something straight out of Looney Tunes. These idiots literally just flip the cannon back over at you guys, and it goes off in just like the most cartoonish way possible. And it just blows everybody away. Like your entire crew gets decimated.
Even Buggy's face is just like, ah!
Still alive, though, or most of them, you assume at least. So the cannon goes off on you and all of your crewmates, and the crackhead and his friends just take off into the night. So Buggy is furious by this, and so he sends one of his crewmates, a lion tamer, out to go get those idiots. And I'm not even kidding, like 5 minutes later, the lion tamer comes back like, yeah, I couldn't beat them. Like the lion tamer gets his ass whooped by Luffy after he beats up a defenseless dog for absolutely no reason. Buggy even chastises him a little bit, like, I sent you out there to go stop a crackhead, and then you started beating up a dog? Why would you do that? Like I told all of you a part of this crew, we are villains, but we are funny first. Everything we do, if it's not funny, we might as well not be doing it.
Yeah, that's why I even bother.
What's funny about beating up a dog? There's no punchline there, and it looks like what the punchline
Look, John Wick has taught us this.
was
You
you
don't
getting your ass
miss.
kicked. I wished I could have seen it. It looks funny, right? Look at you. You look ridiculous. So frustrated, Buggy's like, you know what? If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. Buggy gets all of his remaining crew members and a cannon filled with buggy balls, and they just start walking around the city looking for Luffy and everybody else. Like, I don't know if I need to explain to you why it's so funny that this clown person is dragging a cannon behind him as he walks through a city looking for a crackhead that he can then explode with buggy balls. I don't know if I need to explain that to you, but I mean, I laugh because as soon as he finds Luffy, Buggy unleashes one of his buggy balls and then discovers that Luffy himself has a devil fruit. He uses his gum balloon technique and sends the buggy ball flying right back at them again. So that's 2 Looney Tunes gags that these lunatics have pulled off. Buggy's got some gags up his sleeve himself. He grabs 2 of his crewmates and uses them as human shields for the buggy balls. So all that's left is now Buggy and his right-hand man, Kabaji. Kabaji is a unicycle riding swordsman. So Zoro, the crackhead's
so ridiculous, isn't it? He literally is riding a unicycle with a sword. It's like, what?
Right-hand man says, don't even worry about this, Captain. I'm going to take care of it. Something I didn't mention earlier, Buggy has the chop fruit, which means he's able to separate different limbs and other parts of his body. It makes it really hard for swordsmen to fight him, basically. So when Zoro showed up earlier and tried to fight him, he basically tricked him and managed to get in a cheap shot on Zoro. So right now, Zoro's injured. And Kabaji fully intends to take advantage of Zoro's injuries right now. So Kabaji just starts targeting Zoro's injuries, like the wound that Buggy gave him earlier, and he's just talking about how, like, you know, this is how pirates fight, you know, yada, yada, yada. Zoro takes this as the opportunity to prove that he is just the coolest person on the planet. He lets Kabaji wound his wound at least 2 more times afterward. In fact, I think it's a total of 3 times that Kabaji manages to slash Zoro in his already slashed abdomen. And Zoro's response is something like, there. Is that enough of a handicap for you? Because I'm about to show you the real difference between someone like me and someone like you. Zoro immediately takes out the unicycle riding freak and then just goes to sleep, like, right there on the floor. And the crackhead's like, yeah, don't worry. Go ahead, have a power nap. I'm gonna wrap this up real quick. So now, Buggy and Luffy are beginning to fight. And it's in the middle of this fight that Buggy realizes the hat on Luffy's head, that's Shanks' hat. Shanks is the one person on the planet that Buggy hates more than anybody. Like, with a burning passion. And I'm not even gonna get into why, because there's really no reason. Buggy's just a hater. But even though there is no reason, can you imagine, like, the one person you are hating on more than anybody else in the world? From your eyes, it looks like you have basically met his apprentice. Now, you haven't seen...
I can understand why Buggy doesn't like Shanks. When you get the flashbacks with them both being on, you know, Roger's crew and that, but meh.
Seen this guy in a long time, and now you see his mini-me in a straw hat just ruining all your plans on an island for literally no reason. Like, he just got here like 4 minutes ago. So he gets pissed off and he starts fighting Luffy a little bit more, but while him and Luffy are fighting, Nami decides to use this as the opportunity to just steal everything. But treasure's really important to Buggy, so in the middle of fighting this crackhead, he zooms off to go try and stop Nami. This is when the crackhead does some more Bugs Bunny shit. He sees that when Buggy separates his torso to go chase Nami, Luffy just kicks him right in the nuts. And to just bring up the live action one more time, I loved how they resolved it in the live action. Like, I thought it was a very creative sequence where Nami, Luffy, and Zoro all working together to subdue Buggy, and to where it slowly ended up in the same scene where it's just his head and his hands and his feet. Yeah, that's all good. What's better, though, is Luffy kicking Buggy in the nuts. And I think some more Looney Tunes shit happens later on.
Yeah, I enjoyed the live action. And do you know what? Yo, forgot, not mentioned. I really like the look of the live action Chopper. They did a reveal, didn't they, showing what Chopper's going to look and sound like. A lot of people were like, why didn't you get the voice actor from One Piece? Because it's a different show.
Like, I think, like, whenever Buggy separates himself from, like, his feet, I think it was, to go and attack Nami again because he didn't learn his lesson the first time to just keep his eyes on the crackhead that can actually fight. All he did was separate himself from his feet, and Luffy picks up one of his feet and just starts tickling it. And that causes enough of a distraction for Nami to get away and for her to then
it is funny, actually. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Limbs so that he is just this head with 2 feet and 2 hands coming out. It's hilarious, okay? It is hilarious. That lunatic is literally just Bugs Bunny. After that, the crackhead Gum bazookas Buggy all the way off the island, like launches him farther than we've seen anybody launched in the story up until this point. And I just want to emphasize one more time what happened from Buggy's perspective, okay? From Buggy's perspective, a crackhead showed up to an island that he had nothing to do with, beat up all of his crewmates, stole his map, and then at the end he finds out Shanks is somehow involved. And then after that, the crackhead kicks him in the...
You know what? Yeah, if you were Buggy, you'd be like, what the actual hell has just happened? This is absolutely ridiculous. This is absolutely over the top. Like, yeah, Yeah, you would.
nuts and beats him up too. I cannot wait to do more videos on Buggy in the future because I really think the main problem he has with Luffy is that he's too damn hilarious, all right? I think Buggy really thought he was going to be the funniest person on the Grand Line. And he would have been if it wasn't for a crackhead and his band of lunatics. If you thought that was funny, then wait till we get to the next island because that is a place called Syrup Village. And Syrup Village is home to
Do you know what's throwing me now that I've noticed? Sorry, this doesn't look level, so I don't know whether it's the fact that the room he's in isn't level, or if the camera is like on a slight angle. But I don't know. I can't not keep looking at that now.
Wolf entirely too often. Like every day he just runs through the village saying the pirates are coming, the pirates are coming. That doesn't matter too much though, because I mean, though this boy that's crying wolf, he is probably the funniest character in the entire series to a lot of people. He unfortunately doesn't really shine that bright in his debut arc, but that's okay because a lot of funny stuff still happens, especially if we look at the events that unfold in Syrup Village through the eyes of the antagonist, Captain Kuro of 1,000 Plans. You see, Captain Kuro, as his name implies, has over 1,000 plans, and every last one of those plans is stupid. He is just a ridiculously forgettable and painfully boring antagonist. I mean, for a guy whose whole thing was like, ooh, I'm arrogant, I'm part cat, he sure does make a lot of stupid decisions. Case in point, his whole thing right now is that he's pretending to be the butler of one of the richest families in the town. But his plan is to earn the trust of this family, this rich family, and then after everybody in the family is gone, he can inherit all of their wealth and then retire with all that money anonymously and not have to worry about any of the Marines showing up and sending him to jail. Now see, the problem with this is, for someone who is supposed to be characterized by self-preservation, he does not preserve himself very well at all. You see, very early on in the arc, he's talking to his colleague, Michael Jackson, and they are just loudly
just Michael Jackson
on this beach. And I mean, eventually, the crackhead and the boy who cried wolf, they're watching them from up on the cliff. And it's like, they're not even hiding. They're just sitting up there watching as you basically go over your entire plan.
Yeah,
and this
true.
would be fine if Kuro didn't recognize the crackhead and the boy who cried wolf, but he does almost immediately. And immediately decides, you know what? It doesn't matter, okay? Because Usopp, you lie all the time. The villagers would never believe you. And it's like, dude, I guess, but like, you've been planning this for God how long, okay?
You really want to risk it?
Why wouldn't you just take care of them? If you really don't want your plan to be thwarted, why would you not take this serious? Michael Jackson's right there. Just have him hypnotize people. See what I mean? Just very stupid. And so after a while, when he brings the rest of his pirate crew to the island to attack the village, the crackhead and his band of lunatics are there waiting for the pirate crew. And so Captain Kuro is like, okay, well, we've got the numbers advantage. So what? Like I said, what good is one crackhead and one boy who cried wolf gonna do? And it's like, you see the pattern going on, right? Everybody underestimates these lunatics because they're crazy and stupid. But the thing is, though, that doesn't mean they can't fight. Luffy and the others beats up every single person on Captain Kuro's crew. Literally all of them. That forces Captain Kuro to use his cat out of the bag attack, which is literally just an attack that he uses to assault everyone around him at random. So, like, again, that's not
really
very
not.
effective
Yeah.
plan, especially when you outnumber your enemies and have them surrounded. You're just going to end up picking off more people from your side.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever. Which is what ends up happening, by the way. And so as you can imagine, every last pirate in Captain Kuro's crew gets beaten up until eventually it's just Michael Jackson and Captain Kuro, and they wipe the floor with him. It's neither climactic nor thrilling. It's just, I just really could not believe this guy who was arrogantly shifting his glasses up to adjust them every time, pretending like he was the smartest person in the room, was actually the dumbest person on the entire island. And so that's it. Those lunatics beat up every invading pirate inside Syrup Village and recruit Usopp, and then they take off to the next island. On their way there, though, they stop at this very interesting and alluring restaurant in the middle of the ocean. And from here, I think we should switch the perspective yet again, and I think I'm going to choose Chef Zeph for this one. So walk with me. You are Chef Zeph. You are the head chef inside of the Baratier, or is it Barati? Baratier?
I call it the Barati.
You're inside the big-ass fish restaurant in the middle of the ocean, minding your own business, serving customers, cooking food, yada, yada, yada. All of a sudden, a cannonball comes in, blows right through your room. Minutes later, a crackhead and his friends show up profusely apologizing. And so you know what? You as Chef Zeph, you've seen some stuff, all right? You've been around pirates before. You know the only way to discipline these pirates is to make sure you put your foot down. So you're like, you know what? You ruined my restaurant and my room. To pay me back, you gotta work for me. And so to your surprise, the crackhead agrees. He's like, you know what? You're right. I broke your room
because he's a good person.
And you know, that's not right. So you know what? I'll work off my debt and just tell me how long do I have to work here. So you're like, all right, that's cool. At least the crackhead is reasonable. All right, so you put him to work. He starts washing dishes and breaking dishes, and he's really a liability. He's more of a liability
Yeah.
in the kitchen than he ever was if you would have just let him go. So you as Chef Zeph, you start like rethinking this a little
Like,
bit.
oh
But it's
dear,
not
what
too
have
long
I
after
done?
that another pirate comes into the restaurant and starts demanding food and says he's not going to pay for it, which of course makes all of the chefs and staff act up. All right, you trained him right. They beat his ass up and toss him outside the restaurant. Unfortunately, the goody two-shoes son that you basically adopted, he takes pity on this guy and he gives him some octopus fried rice, I think it was. Whatever it was, it looked
Sanji.
delicious. Way better than that guy deserved. Now, your adoptive kid's name is Sanji, and you have taken a special liking to this guy. He's an amazing person, but he's too damn kind for his own good. You know
Plus, come on, the backstory with those two. So sad.
that he dreams of a life of adventure and sailing the seven seas and finding the all blue. Hell, you guys share that dream, in fact. So it would actually mean the world to you if he actually left the restaurant and fulfilled his dreams, because you got one leg right now. You can't find the all blue, but Sanji could. It's still very possible for Sanji to. So you observe this crackhead talking to your adoptive son, and they're hitting it off, and you know that the crackhead's gonna ask him to join his crew to be a cook. And then you hear him ask, and then Sanji immediately declines because he can't leave you to this restaurant all by yourself.
Yeah.
This infuriates you because you know that Sanji is so kind that he would literally throw away his dreams if it meant he didn't have to leave anybody alone. In his head, this is as much for him as it is for you. But you know that the truth is, chasing and achieving your dreams takes a certain amount of grit, determination, and selfishness if you hope to make it anywhere. So you're watching them talk, and you are just hoping that this crackhead can get through Sanji's head.
Yeah.
It's a moot point, though, because soon after that, another pirate kicks open the door, and he's like, I need food. I'm on death's door. Somebody feed me right now. Still demanding and saying that he's not going to pay for it, and basically everybody does the same thing the first time, including Sanji. Sanji immediately feeds him and says, you know what, that's what we do here, okay? We feed people that are hungry. So you watch your adoptive son be just too kind for his own good.
Very
and then
much in this
immediately
regard,
after
yeah.
this pirate eats the bowl of rice that he gave him, the pirate just punches your son right in the face, just decks him immediately. It's honestly kind of funny. Like, Don Krieg, I didn't realize this when I first watched the show, but that's hilarious. Like, we saw the ideal situation of Sanji helping out Gin, and then Don Krieg comes in and he's like, thank you for the food. So this
Bam.
pirate's name is Don Krieg, and he's got a bunch of other pirates right outside, and he's talking about securing this ship and then turning this restaurant into his own personal quarters and stuff. Like, it's bad, okay? And he's about to try to take the restaurant. Of course, Sanji's not going to let that happen. And the crackhead looks to you, and he's like, hey, if I beat up all these pirates, does that mean I can stop doing all these chores? And you look at him, and you're like, you know what?
Yeah,
You've
go
been
on.
breaking every
That makes
dish
sense.
I've given you. Well, yeah, go ahead. Fight these people. I don't care. Crackhead takes off his apron enthusiastically and runs out there to try to beat up all the rest of the pirates. In the middle of all this, though, and to your surprise, a warlord shows up. One of the 7 warlords shows up to your restaurant,
Yes.
casually cutting
Oh my god, yes.
every pirate ship in his path in half. And when he finally arrives, Don Krieg is like, oh my god, this is the guy that decimated all of our ships in the Grand Line. It's Mihawk. What are you doing here? And this swordsman that looks really Christian is like, I'm just killing some time. So you think you're about to watch a massacre in your restaurant, but then suddenly a green-haired samurai stands up and he's like, hang on a second,
wanna fight
Christian.
you.
I challenge you. Mihawk pulls
God,
out the
that
smallest blade ever and says what seriously could be the coolest line in all of
This is one of the coolest moments ever. This was ridiculous. What was it? I don't bring a cannon to hunt rabbits or
One
something?
Piece. He says, I'm not the kind of fool who hunts rabbits with cannons.
Yeah, there we
This
go. Yes, I kind of remembered it. Cool.
knife should be more than enough to deal with you. He pulls out a pocket knife while this lunatic that's holding 3 swords, one of which is in his mouth, charges him. And the warlord effortlessly stops him. Obviously, you knew that he would, and then
Yeah.
he proceeds to basically just murder the green-haired guy. But this whole thing that they're doing, all of it is just, it's really respectful. Like, you feel the fire inside you watching it a little bit. You're like, wow, these guys are built different. Even Mihawk is moved, because even though it looks like he just murdered the guy with the green hair, he's still alive. He just gave him a really gnarly looking scar. He tells the green hair guy that it took a lot of guts for him to challenge him here today, and I was originally just chasing these baboons so that I could pass the time. But I might have messed around and met a real one. So Roronoa Zoro, I need you to continue your training, get strong, and meet me on the Grand Line. So now everybody's fired up. They're chanting and screaming, go get him, crackhead. So Mihawk just leaves.
Go
He
get
was
him,
originally
crackhead.
just looking for entertainment, and he found it. And after he leaves, Don Krieg is like, well, I have no idea what that was about, but I'm gonna keep trying to take the restaurant. Unfortunately for Don Krieg, everybody is fired up after seeing Zoro and Mihawk fight, including the crackhead. The crackhead's like, I just listen, all right? Admittedly, I did do more damage to this restaurant than you before I even got here, but I'm gonna save it. So you watch this crackhead beat up on this pirate for 30 minutes. The whole time, the pirate, Don Krieg, he is just pulling out all the stops. He's pulling out bombs. He's got, I think at one point he had poison gas that he covered the entire area in. He is just pulling out every dirty Blackbeard Pirates play that he has in his book. None of it's stopping the crackhead, though, and I think the entire crowd that's watching understands once the crackhead gets a hold of this guy, oh, it's over. So everybody's watching all of this unfold, and while all of this is happening, Sanji is just watching in awe. And so you, as Chef Zeph, you take the time to really explain to Sanji what he's looking at. Look closely, Sanji. For some men, nothing else matters. Nothing but winning, chasing their dreams, and putting the smack down on suckers that deserve it. That boy might be a crackhead, but he's gonna be king of the crackheads soon enough.
That boy might be a crackhead, but he's gonna king him.
I know another idiot that has aspirations that might be just as lofty, but he's not taking him as seriously as a crackhead with nothing to lose. So with that, you retreat back into the ship. The fighting wasn't even over, but you were like, I've seen enough. This crackhead's gonna win. And you go to sleep. You wake up, and of course, all the fighting is over, and the crackhead did win. Sanji does eventually decide to follow his dreams. A very heartfelt goodbye ensues, and the crew of lunatics now have their cook. And now there is one more island that everybody has to go to before they have crossed off every island in the East Blue, or at least every island that they need to go to punch somebody. And you guys should know by now that the final island is Arlong Park. So let me set the stage for you, all right? Arlong is this fish guy that's racist. He murdered Nami's mother and basically made her be a slave for pretty much her entire
He's not a nice
just
fish.
Maps and doing stuff like that. Here's the thing. I don't like Arlong, and for what he did to our beautiful navigator Nami Swollen, I just don't feel comfortable seeing the events of Arlong Park through his perspective. But luckily, there was one person who was on the island there to observe all of the hilarious events unfold with little to no context at all. And longtime viewers of the channel may already know where I'm going with this, but this is where Luffy's first bounty picture was taken. So that means, yes, everybody, it is time for us to witness the genesis of Jimmy Scoops. You see, Jimmy Scoops is a photographer that would eventually work for the World Economic Press. He's the best of the best, but he hasn't met Big News Morgans yet. In fact, he hasn't even encountered the main cash cow of Big News Morgans, the crackhead and his band of lunatics. That is until Arlong Park. You see, Jimmy Scoops is a bit of a screw-up, both before he encountered the Straw Hats and honestly after it up until the New World. Keeps taking pictures with the lens cap on, and it's just, it really gets in the way of his photographering, if you could imagine. So while our favorite crackhead is adventuring all across the East Blue, Jimmy is off on his own trying to figure out what the next step in his career is going to be. That is until, of course, in his travels across the East Blue, he hears rumors about this crazy person just running around fighting everybody. He beat up Axe-Hand Morgan and his son and freed a dangerous lunatic that wanted to be a pirate hunter until he got kicked off the force for police brutality. Beat up a killer clown, saving an entire city from, he checks his notes, buggy balls. Managed to beat the hell out of Captain Kuro of 1,000 dumbass plans. And recently, Jimmy just tried to get a drink at Baratie and saw the mess that was going on. Holes everywhere in the restaurant, and he was like, I'll just eat at the next island over. All of it. So Jimmy follows the smoke until eventually he makes it to Arlong Park. And he's walking around trying to get as much information as he can. So far, all that he knows is that there's this fish guy that's in charge of the whole island. But that's all he can find out. Everybody else is really hush-hush about everything. So Jimmy just walking, trying to figure out what's going on until eventually he comes across a crackhead just laying in the middle of the road. Jimmy's hesitant at first, but he eventually walks up to him. Hey, leave me alone. I'm taking a nap in the middle of the road. I can see that. Hey, are you that crackhead that's been running around just beating everybody up for no reason? I don't remember that, but hey, you got any food on you? Any food? Yeah, like some meat, maybe. A burger. You know, you got any McDoubles on you? Do I have any McDoubles on me? Well, let me check. No, I do not have any McDoubles. I'm sorry. Damn. Well, do you know if there's any food close by? I want to grab some lunch for my middle-of-the-road nap. I don't know. I think I saw a Wendy's closer to the beginning of the village. I mean, I could get you some if you want, if you're willing to answer my questions and let me take a few pictures. Hey, yeah. Why don't you bring me some Wendy's? That'd be great. And I'll be sure to return the favor, if you know what I mean. I don't know what you mean. Why do you sound like a mobster from The Godfather? What's gonna happen after I feed you? But to Jimmy's surprise, the crackhead doesn't respond because he is already sound asleep. So Jimmy doesn't worry about it. He goes to the Wendy's, picks up a nice 4 for $4 for the crackhead so that he can answer his questions and get some pictures. And then he starts walking around again. But when he comes back to the middle of the road, the crackhead's not there anymore. So Jimmy keeps walking to try to find him. And that's when Jimmy comes across a crying woman in the middle of the road, and the crackhead is standing right behind her. Jimmy watches from a safe distance, and he observes the crackhead put his hat on top of the crying woman's head, take a few steps forward, and then suddenly, without warning, he screams to the sky, I'm a goofy goober! Ah! The crackhead keeps walking, and Jimmy realizes that all of the other lunatics in his crew, they're right there waiting for him.
All right.
Goofy goober! Ah! So Jimmy is watching all of this without context, like, what What is going on? He has no idea why they're slow motion walking to where they are going to. Jimmy decides, I need to find somebody else. This is all too ridiculous. So Jimmy manages to walk ahead of them because, again, they're walking in slow motion. And when Jimmy makes it to the end of that same road, he finds a blockade in front of Arlong Park. So Jimmy's like, okay, what is going on this island? Who are the fish people on the other side of that fence? And one of the townspeople give Jimmy this monologue about how they're all waiting for certain people that will come turn the hands of fate and then change the world for the better. And while they're giving this epic and dramatic monologue, Jimmy hears from over the hill, "We're all goofy goobers, right? Goofy, 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 Jimmy is left only to assume that this crackhead and his friends are the certain men that will change fate for the entire island.
They
He
are.
doesn't know what else to do, so Jimmy just sits back and watches. And Jimmy watches as these men cross the blockade and they just start beating up all the fishmen. At one point, the long-nosed guy just takes off, just runs away from the squabble. And Jimmy's like, I mean, I don't know. I guess that makes sense. He doesn't really look like he can fight. And so then a fishman runs off after him. But then only the long-nosed guy comes back. So Jimmy's like, are they just killing everybody? What's going on? I didn't even think that guy could fight, but apparently he took him into the woods, beat him up, and then ran back.
Yeah.
And inside Arlong Park,
Oh yeah,
it was no better. The crackhead
Usopp's random little. And I like that they recreated that in the live action as
and
well.
the swordsman and the cook that can kick, they're just beating up everybody until eventually Luffy beats up the big shark guy and then breaks the entire fortress of Arlong Park. The whole building
breaking
comes
it
down with one attack
down.
from this crackhead. The townspeople immediately start cheering, throwing their hats and everything in the air, thanking the crackhead for everything that he's done, and Jimmy has never been more confused. From his perspective, the fish people were like the mayor or the town officials, something, I don't know, and this crackhead who definitely was not a part of this village before. Like, Jimmy knows for a fact this crackhead just got to this island maybe like 30 minutes ago. And in that 30 minutes, the crackhead has managed to beat up literally everyone in charge of this island. It's astonishing. It's insane. But after the fight's over, Jimmy manages to give the Wendy's 4 for 4 to the crackhead. The crackhead thanks him. Jimmy makes sure that the lens cap is off of his camera, and he takes the crackhead's picture. He still doesn't have too much of a concept of who this crackhead is and what these lunatics are all about, but he's about to get some more clues, because immediately after that, Jimmy walks out to his car and he sees that one of the Marines are giving him a parking ticket. You see Jimmy parked right in front of a fire hydrant, and he's like, you know what, it is
Jimmy
what it
Scoops,
is, let me just pay you. So when Jimmy walks up to the Marine to pay the parking ticket, immediately and without warning, the crackhead sends a rubber fist flying straight into the cop that was giving him a parking ticket. Knocks him clean out, and he's just like, hey, don't mess with my friend. Yo, why did you do that? I could have just paid the ticket. No one messes with my friends, photo guy, and I won't forget what you did for me. What I did for you? That Wendy's was delicious. And now all your enemies are my enemies. Enemies? What? And I promise, photo guy, no matter what problem stand in your way, I will be there to sort it out for you. Just come find me when you need me most. Find you when I need you most. What, are you magic? What are you doing? Why did you knock this guy out? Am I gonna get in trouble for that? Oop, not if you can run fast enough. Yahoo! Hey, wait a minute, don't leave me with this. Get back here. So Jimmy takes off chasing the crackhead until he boards his ship and he sees that there's a crowd of people waiting to send them off. Jimmy takes note and he's like, okay, wow, I guess they all really like this guy. But seriously, hang on, I got more questions for you. And this is when Jimmy sees that a woman that he previously thought was just part of the village, she runs through the crowd of people saying goodbye to the pirates, and she pickpockets everyone in the crowd. It's honestly the most impressive display of pickpocketing that Jimmy has ever seen. She steals from literally everybody, gets on the ship, and looks back at him like, hee, ain't I a stinker? And so Jimmy's like, what? Who are you people? You guys are all crazy. Hang on, no, I gotta get all your pictures now. Shut up, dummy. I'm gonna be king of the pirates. Let's go, guys. Hit it. Come on, sing along, all your hopes and dreams, yeah. So Jimmy watches as these lunatics sail off into the sunset. And he's got tons of questions, but he couldn't have known that what he watched was the birth of the craziest pirate crew to ever sail the One Piece series.
Oh, yeah.
And just like all of us back at home, Jimmy was watching these lunatics sail off into the sunset. And though he wasn't quite sure what he was watching yet, he knew in his heart that it was something special. But that's it for this one, guys. East Blue is definitely hilarious, and I hope I've encouraged you to check it out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for being interested, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one.
I really liked that. That was good. I will definitely check out another one of those. If you guys want me to, click that like, leave comments down below, etc., etc. But I really liked that. I enjoyed that. It was fun. I like how he's come up with this Jimmy Scoops character as well, which is funny. Must work for Big News Morgan. I'm looking forward to checking out the rest. And it also works as a nice little reminder and recap of the start as well. So, because as you guys know, my memory's awful. And so this will be good to check all these out and recap the whole show so far. So, yeah. Thanks for watching.